YouTube, and today we have a discussion video on Shaddoll. Yes, we have another discussion video on Shaddoll. Don't know why I'm doing this. Nobody really cares about my discussion videos, but I'm doing one because I have some things that I want to talk about with Shaddoll. So let's go in. First, we're going to start off with these cards right here, and just different things I've seen people run with Shaddoll. As we all know, we have the Earth, the Light, the Fire, and the Dark. And we are supposed to get the Water and the Wind attribute eventually for the Shaddoll fusion. Yet, I'm not going to focus on that right now. I just want to focus about what do people running to use these, because Shaddoll is a very interesting fusion deck, because the only other fusion deck like this that requires an Earth monster would be Elemental Heroes, and they have both of the monsters needed for the fusion summon in the archetype itself. Like they have both the Elemental Hero and the Water monster themselves. And that's something Shaddolls doesn't have. Shaddolls only have Dark monsters in themselves. So they have a huge opening for a lot of tech. A lot of different tech cards that a person can run to fill that gap. But yet, the thing that I see is, in some of these, like as you've seen in a lot of my deck profiles, I'm running Grandma. Grandma's great this format. Same with Mathematician and Felice. Felice and Mathematician, they work very well together. It's a one card Black Rose. But yet, what I'm just seeing in general is these youth, and even I do this, especially with Mathematician and Shek, is where you have these cards in your deck, and where you want to fusion summon for these monsters, you just send a card to the graveyard, and it's never used. You're just using it to fill a requirement of having an Earth, of having a Fire, or a Light, or a Dark, which most people, when it has Dark monsters, they just send a second Shaddoll card. Yet, and to me, I don't like, I think that's a bad idea, because well, with certain cards, especially these guys, you can just banish them for rank 4 plays or for BLS, which makes sense. It's just that some people, if they're running Call of Summit, they only run it at once, especially if you're looking at the newer builds that have Shek and E-Gristle in them, or if you look, and some even just run the 2 Waven Bursters. And so if you're dumping Waven Bursters to make constructs, you're not going to make a rank 4 play now, because you don't have any Waven Bursters, because I've seen this guy at a maximum played at 2. And if you're dumping Molotok, you're not going to use Molotok's effect, obviously. It's just, you can't use Molotok and make a construct at the same time, unless of course you fusion summon from the field, which isn't fusion summoning from the deck. But, and then I also saw this really cool combo, which isn't bad, is where they tenki into bear, and then they'd attack to get another tenki, and then they'd make E-Gristle, and they'd just play off of that, where they'd have a bear where they could use to pop your monsters pretty much every turn. So it would put a lot of pressure on the opponent. Yet, I don't like that playstyle, because to me, that sounds way too familiar to Hats. Where if you had, in Hats, if you have Fire Night Hand, you play with Fire Night Hand. If you have the Trap Tricks, you play with Trap Tricks. If you have the Artifacts, you play with the Artifacts. And so, to me, I don't want Shaddoll to be this deck where I have a whole bunch of different archetypes in the deck, and they're all glued together, because instead of fusion summoning from the deck, which was the whole point of the deck, it's fusion summoning from the field after you use these cards, because otherwise you're just not using the cards. If you fusion summon with Mathematician from the deck, you're not using them, and that's the thing I see people doing, and it's just like, why? Like, that's why I don't run the Kali Serpents. While they are great rank 4 plays, can make great rank 4 plays, I'd just rather run the Electromagnetic Turtle and the AD Changer. And so, I just don't like that playstyle where you're fusion summoning practically main phase 2. With the new quick play spell card, you will be able to special summon during the battle phase, so that could go for great OTKs. Yet, I just don't want to play that deck where I'm running Bear, Molotok, or even Scythe if Molotok is hit, and then the Call of Service. I don't want to play a deck like that where it has like 5 Shaddoll monsters in it, because I have to have room for all my other cards in here that just overpower the Shaddolls because they're just done in general. And I just don't want to play a deck like that. And so I'm seeing that, and the question comes up, what monsters do you run with Shaddolls? Because it's really hard to choose. Like, it's uber hard to choose. And there's a lot of really good light support, especially this one deck that I forgot. what was it, Dog? I was sounding Dog Marone. Like, this guy's really good because if he's sent to the graveyard, added to the deck, and shuffle it, so you run him and one other light monster, or even like two of him, and you have an instant fusion target for construct every single time because he will always return to the deck. So that's a really good one. That's really good. Yet he won't do anything. He's just there to make construct and to fill a requirement. So then there's still even problems with that. Yet that is still really good because it does give you room for your fires and for your earth monsters. Now I did go and look for light and wind monsters. I was curious onto what we might see people running once the light and the earth monster come out, and I just found a whole bunch of different water monsters that I thought were actually pretty decent. But yet again, they both fall into the problem where if you're fusion summoning with them, you're not going to use their effect. So if you're using them, you won't be fusion summoning from the deck then. So like all of these cards are not practically not worth running at all, because you're not going. Because if you want to fusion summon, if you want this deck to be a fusion summoning deck, then you're not going to use these guys at all. Yet there is Tribe Shocking Virus, where you can banish one monster and destroy all monsters with the same type. That could be very good in a mirror match. And we have Aquasphere, which is a rank 4 play. Stop it, not standing Dogma. And then we have this guy will just special summon by banishing water. And then we have Quackimiro Ice, which will send one card from your hand to graveyard to destroy one special monster on the field. This doesn't sound like a cost, so you might get the effect. So that could be a good card. But yet I wouldn't run it because it's just not the playstyle I like. I just don't like playing it like that. Chin Goldfish, rank 4 spam. Penguins, with this guy banishing 2, that could be really nice. And this is another Quackimiro. It doesn't do anything. Yeah, it doesn't go away. It doesn't destroy himself. Yet you can return one Iron Core Quackimiro from your hand to the top of the deck and get the effects of all face-up effect monsters until the next standby phase, except Quackimiro. Until your next standby phase. And then now onto the ones that I did actually like for the waters. Spellbook, Magician of Prophecy. The reason I like this is one, he's a spellcaster, and there's other spellbook monsters with different attributes. So if you wanted to, you could run a spellcaster based deck with the spellbooks and the prophecies and the shaddolls, and then you'd have all the requirements. But yet the thing is though, I don't think prophecies gain any benefit from having their monsters in the grave. So if they do, if there is a combo with getting them in the grave, the monsters, not the spellbooks, the actual prophecy monsters, tell me in the comments. Yeah, other than that, I didn't see it. Treeborn Fog is actually really good, especially if you want to get a tribute fodder for Beast, or maybe you're running Vanity's Fiend. He's great, but then you get no back row. So yeah. So if you when the water monster comes out, Treeborn Fog might see some play. We might see a different version of Shaddoll, especially if Sinister Shadow Game gets hit. Like if Sinister Shadow Game gets hit, then we might see a deck like this where it's practically where you tribute more, and Treeborn Fog is perfect. And then there was the Beast King of the Swamps and King of the Swamps. These guys, you can substitute them. I'm not sure exactly how it works. Like if you can use them as the Shaddoll monster and then just drop for like a bear and make Yugioh. So I'm not sure if that works. But if you wanted to, you could use King and drop him for a Poly, and you can use Poly to make these cards. And then, the wind monsters, there weren't any. I saw Winda of Gusto, and I was like, yeah, run her. If somebody was running a Winda with El Shaddoll Winda, like I'd give them props if they ran Gustos and Shaddolls, even if their deck didn't really work, because that would look really cool getting out both Windas. And then Fortune Ladies looked like a really good deck because they're spellcasters. They probably will benefit from being sent to the grave. And then again, we have Garuda, which is another rank 4 spam deck. And in the end, what I think people are going to look at, because when they're building the deck and they're seeing that they only have 5 Shaddoll monsters, and they're seeing a whole bunch of just tech cards, we're probably going to see Shaddoll Roots. Shaddoll Roots is probably going to go up in price because it's just going to be the answer that everybody, or not necessarily the answer, but it's the card that everybody wants to fusion summon with, because it will make everything that anybody needs, including the new Ice and Water one. But the problem is, can't fusion summon from the deck. If you could use this guy from the deck, then none of this, we wouldn't have this discussion, because it'd be like, oh, just drop Shaddoll Roots, fusion summon with Shaddoll Roots from the deck. But it just doesn't work like that, so unfortunately, he will probably go up. We might see people see him running him at 2 or 3, just so that way they can make these fusions if they want to focus on the fusions themselves. So that is pretty much the main thing that I saw with the water and the wind monsters. Didn't see any winds. There were a lot of good water ones, but yet again, if you're fusion summoning from the deck, you're not going to use any of these guys' effects. You might be able to set up for like a rank 4 play with Gerudo or Aqua Spirit by having a water monster, or with these guys that we see, but yet I just don't like that playstyle. It's not necessarily the rank 4s, because rank 4s are good, it's just I want cards to have a specific point, and if you're saying, oh, this is, you fusion summon with this, then you're not using this for rank 4. Like, I've seen some Shaddoll decks right now where all they run for light monsters is Wave Investors and maybe like one other card, and it's like, yeah, what do you plan on fusion summoning with? Wave Investor? Okay, well then you're just not going to use Wave Investor. And then you're not going to make rank 4s. Or Molotov. Like, people like, just use Molotov. Like, no. Like, Fleece is understandable. Like, I do run Fleece. Like, I'm iffy on it right now, but yet Fleece is understandable because one card Black Rose or an Arcanite is pretty good. And, like, yeah, Fleece is understandable, but yet you wouldn't even fusion summon with her anyways, because she doesn't get her effect. She has to be sent, this card is sent by a monster effect. Special summon it. It doesn't get its effect when it's fusion summoned with, by sent from the deck to graveyard by a spell card. And so yeah, I feel like there's going to be problems with this deck unless, like, I really wish Konami kept it as a light fairy dark spellcaster deck and kept it chaos, instead of giving it a fire and giving it an earth. I really didn't like that when they revealed that, but yet they decided, that's what they did, and they really hit the deck. Like, yes, there is Fire and Ice Hand that, a lot of people told me don't run Fire and Ice Hand until the water monster is announced, then run Fire and Ice Hand, but it's like, no, because then you're not using Fire and Ice Hand, because you're fusion summoning with them from the deck. And that's the thing that I'm stressing on, is because that's how the deck goes, plus that's how the deck works, is fusion summoning from the deck. And it is playable where you can just fusion summon main phase 2, where you can do those really weird decks where you're like, where doing your main phase, you're just summoning a whole bunch of stun cards like Bear and Tank, activating Tank and getting Bear, or you're using Molotovs and then just fusion summoning them after you use their effects. That does work, but yet it's gonna be really hard for a person to say, I would rather use the monster I have on the field than use the monster I have in my deck to fusion summon with. Like, it's gonna become really hard, and we may see people start running Outstanding Dog Maroon, just because he just comes back and he's just that instant fusion target for a Construct thing. Construct is very important to the deck. Like, no matter what, like, Construct is the card that this deck has to make to get rid of practically everything. Like, this is the card that you want to make once your opponent gets over Winder most of the time, unless of course the monster has less attacks than Winder, in which case you would just probably make Winder so that way they can't special them more and more. So I probably just went on, and now I have one other topic I'd like to talk about, and that is cycling. And I feel like Konami had one chance with cycling, and it's like they failed us with Shaddoll cards. They created Shaddoll Hound, which was, you can target one Shaddoll card in graveyard at your hand, which you're thinking, oh, that isn't too bad. It's level 4, 16 on track, that isn't too bad. But let me show you this new card. Is this guy it? No. Nope. There's this new Tellarknight coming out. Oh, here is the Tellarknight Serious. When this card is summoned, target 5 Tellarknight monsters in graveyard, shuffle all 5 into deck, then draw 1 card. Yeah. I wish I had a Pot of Avarice too, because this is practically a little bit worse than a Pot of Avarice for the Tellarknight. It's like, and then Konami just gives us the Shaddoll Hound. It's like a 1-for-1. And if anything, if you get in that position where you're like running out of resources, you're gonna take Falco, so that way Falco can get back Hound, and then the Hound can get back Falco. Because this guy, he's gonna return 5 and then draw 1. That's just too much, especially in a deck that can just negate, that has a Solemn Judgment for with that the Telenova Alpha card. Yeah, it says like when no, we need a serious. That would really help Shaddoll. And then there is Yugioh. Yugioh is great when it comes to cycling. Yet sometimes it just gets cloggy because you're just. The problem I had with it is, especially with Winda, is like you summon him. If you have Winda on board, you need to return your monsters, because that way you can go for a fusion summon, but you have your own Winda, and it's like, great. I can't both return my monsters and fusion summon at the same time. It just won't work, and he's dark, so you can't even get rid of Winda without creating a new Winda. And so that's the thing with cycling that I have, is just that the deck has no cycling. Like, so you can run through the deck really quickly and it just falls apart. And yeah, I guess that's the discussion. Tell me what you guys think Shaddolls will start running once we get a water and a wind monster. If you think people are going to go to this hat type playstyle where they're just running stun cards, where they might not be focusing so much on using Shaddoll instead of just using these really good monsters that they can then make even greater monsters. Like, these guys are powerful. Like, if you can have a E-Crystal and have a tenki on board with another bear in hand, like, yeah, great, negating inherent summons. Or if you can make like a construct and be or Shek, like Shek, I like Shek. Like, Shek can be practically another window sometimes, because it's like, oh, you want a special summon? Good luck with that. Especially against the Talon Knights, because it's like, Vega, Altair, oh no. Like, you got rid of my Altair, what am I going to do? And then they have the Telenova Alpha. But, yeah, just like, I just don't want to play a deck where it's like, Artifacts, Fire Fist, and then Kali Serpent, and then you're running Kwakimiru, or just, and then like the Aqua Spirit and the Garunda, and you're just making Ring 4 plays for days, and it's just like, no, I don't want to play a Ring 4 deck, I want to play a Fusion Summoning deck. That's the whole point. Especially like this deck is just crazy, especially when the fact that they gave it a tuner. Like, I'd be okay with these guys if it wasn't for Falco. Like, Falco's like, oh, Synchro plays anybody? And so it's like, Fusions, Synchros. Oh no, I don't have room for XC monsters. So just tell me what you would run with your Shaddoll deck. Would you be the guy that runs the different archetypes that already have all the attributes, such as the Fortune Ladies and the Spellbooks? Would you be the guy that runs the Treeborn Frog and focuses more on tribute summoning? Because Vanity Fiend can work with his deck very well. Or would you just run the stun deck that uses just a whole bunch of different stun cards to shut your opponent down and just make sure it's 4s for days? So yeah, just tell me what you guys would think would work for Shadolls once we get the new wind and ice one. There was just one more thing I want to mention. I'd really like for the effects of the new ones to be a big eye. I want to see a big eye for special summon monsters, and I'd like to see one monster that has attack that can get over killer, or defense that can defend against killer. That would have to be 3550 at the least, because killer does reduce all special summon monsters by 500 attack. And right now the only answer I have in deck, well, actually I added Monostone Force because I'm trying a different build, but Star Eater does get over killer, and that card I want to get rid of, because Star Eater is really great, especially with Shaddoll Core and Falco, which is really easy to make. And even for Leafs, like if you have a level 4 on board already and like Mathematician in hand, you can make a, that's a Star Eater right there. But that's off topic. Just tell me what you guys would run with Shaddolls once they get their wind and ice one. What effects do you want? What stats would you like to see them at? What do you think would be balanced? And maybe even just other new Shaddoll cards. Like, we did get Shaddoll Hound. Maybe they'll release even newer ones. And yeah. And as far as the ban list goes, if the ban list doesn't get announced soon, I will be going more in depth and the actual what cards should be coming back. But yeah, as far as Shaddoll cards, you can put Window to 2. That would be okay. Even at 1 would be fine. Just don't touch Construct. Like, Construct is the answer to everything, and if you kill Construct, then the deck's just not playable. So yeah, that's all that I have to say for now on Shaddolls. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to check out the annotations that will be appearing over here when I'm done talking, and the links in the description. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys later. Bye. Hey, if you could click on the links and on the annotation to see the duel with this deck or some of my other videos, that would really help. And check out the links in the description to watch some of me and my friends' videos and even something that could help make this deck a reality for you. See you guys later. Bye.